Real talk, the metaphor messiah, man. I got this one. Let's go. You ever seen the morning star? Mr. Metaphor Messiah, back to show you who we are. I represent a legacy, a pothead like the 70s, a different kind of mind. They say we only speak in melodies.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Dead on Dave coming at you live from Germany for your weekly wrestling review battle. That's right, man. We talk about Raw and Smackdown, and we simply tell you what's better. Well, I give you my opinion on what's better, and you can agree or disagree. Tell me to go eat a giant Big Show-sized butthole or whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter to me. We're just here to have a good old time and talk that thing that we love so much, professional wrestling. Yeah, so let's get right into it, man. Lots of stuff going on this week. I think both shows actually put out a really, really good product this week. Certainly a step up in a lot of ways. Smackdown was, I think, not as good as it's been the last 2-3 weeks, but it had a really great moment. Arguably the best moment of the week with the whole AJ Styles and Shane McMahon situation. But even that, it kind of felt like, well, yeah, but didn't we just get that from Raw like the night before? And in some ways we did. We're going to talk about all of that and a whole lot more. Let's go through the shows. Let's start with Monday Night Raw, which I think from top to bottom, quite simply, worked. I mean, everything that it did, it moved storylines further. It made things that didn't seem to matter or didn't seem to have a lot of interest going into WrestleMania instantly have more recognition, interest, juice, fun, flavor, whatever you want to call it. It certainly added a lot this week coming out of Monday Night Raw. Very, very impressed with that. Show starts off with with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And at this point, either you're really into these promos or you're not. It really doesn't get any more simple than that. If you like what Paul Heyman does and brings to the ring and talks about, then you're going to love the entire situation. If not, then it's really not for you, and it never has been, and that's okay. But I think there was enough entertainment, and it didn't go on too long to where you would check out. It does feel like this is the most obvious thing that's going to happen at WrestleMania, is Brock Lesnar taking the belt off of Goldberg. But at least they didn't just do a quick Goldberg losing to Lesnar 6 months ago, and there was no other build towards it. It seems like they've had a story that they wanted to tell. Maybe not the most interesting story in the world, but it was a deviation from just Lesnar smash, Lesnar come, Lesnar smash. Now, Lesnar has had to take a detour off of his path of destruction. Yeah, now, while it would have been better to have it against a guy who was able to work more than 45 seconds without, like, completely dying in the ring, I still think bringing that nostalgia factor, it didn't go as bad as it could have gone. At least Goldberg hasn't died in the ring yet, and that's a good thing. So as long as this story does go predictably the way that we think it's supposed to go, I think that they really can't mess it up. If Lesnar goes over Goldberg strong and he is that entity, that champion, that driving force again coming out of WrestleMania, I think ultimately it was all worth it. Hopefully nobody gets hurt, and that's it. You know, that's really what it comes down to. Hopefully. But God, am I the only one who's feeling like Goldberg could actually win again? How funny would that be? Okay. So once we get past that, the true story of the night gets told. Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, who have been going back and forth in hit or miss segments for months. Sometimes Mick is very bearable. He's interesting. He's engaging. And other times he's a bumbling mess and he's no fun to listen to or watch at all. Stephanie is overly mean. It doesn't seem to work when she tries to force it. We know what's going on, but at the same time, it still feels like meh. And a lot of that has to do with Foley's reactions. This week, we didn't have that problem. It seemed like there was something else happening. I like Stephanie trying to bury the hatchet a little bit. And mentor Mick. I thought that was an interesting nuance. The whole, I'm going to teach you. I haven't taught you, so let me help you grow. I kind of like that. I mean, we all knew it was bullshit, and we all knew it was coming, but it was still somewhat interesting. And then she drops the bombshell that you're going to have to fire somebody by the end of the show tonight. And I think a lot of people thought there was one of two outcomes. One, going the way that they were going to go with Stephanie, or him just simply firing himself, retiring. That would have made sense too. But I like that they didn't do it automatically. I like that they told the story throughout the night, different updates. They had them reacting to the matches throughout the night. I thought that was smart. I thought it was kind of cool. It kept us engaged. It kept the story running through an entire 3-hour show, which is usually a problem. And I think that by doing that, they showed that if they have a storyline that they revisit throughout the night, whether it be in the 90s, when Stone Cold Steve Austin would simply come in, create hell, stun somebody, then leave for a while. 20, 30 minutes later, he'd stun somebody else, leave for a while. As long as you're getting that continuous story throughout the night, it helps keep you engaged, even when some of the matches and other segments kind of fall flat, because you're getting the main story to kind of fall back on and get fed. And I like that. I think they did a really good job with that. Really, really good job with that last night. And of course, it culminated with a fantastic ending, which we will talk about. Some of the other things that happened, we got a little bit of a twist, but one we've seen a few times now with Dana Brooke and Charlotte. Charlotte's fired Dana, 3-4 times now? Dana, this is the most she's attacked Charlotte. It seems like they've wanted to do this story a few times. They've done this for a couple of reasons. One, I was a little bit surprised how over Dana seemed to be at the end of the segment. Could have just been this crowd, but still, she got a pretty damn good reaction for being pretty damn awful for as long as she's been awful. But I thought that was actually a very encouraging sign. Somebody else is getting a little bit of a spotlight. I kind of like that. It also gives them an obvious way to kind of write out Charlotte for a little while and give her something else to do other than hover around that title, which sometimes is not the worst thing in the world. Some people call it a cooler. Some people call it a change in direction, whatever you want to call it. Charlotte is long-term. There's no question about that. But why not use what she's done in the past year to help build another star that kind of needs to be built in Dana Brooke? Not the worst thing in the world to do there. The match between Sasha and Dana, really not even worth talking about. It just was a means to an end to get to the storyline between Dana and Charlotte. Didn't hate it. Didn't hate it at all. The 205 stuff. Look, plain and simple, this 205 stuff needs to stop being on Raw, being packaged as 205. 205 needs to be completely revamped and reworked, and they're starting to talk about it. They talked about it on that after show, the Bring It to the Table. They kind of heavy-handedly hit it hard. And then, of course, with 205 this week, they kind of also hinted at changes coming. One of the big changes is they just got to stop this purple stuff. They got to stop making Raw become a different show for a couple segments of show. It just doesn't work. It's confusing. You feel like you should be reacting differently just because it's a different segment, just because it's part of a different show. It just doesn't work. Let them go out there and highlight. And then when they're wrestling, be like, oh yeah, remember, you can find these guys on 205 Live. They have their own show, their own division. They're amazing, but they're Raw guys through and through. Really easy way to handle it. Also, get that title defended on Raw. Every now and then, I'd say at least once a month, do something with that title on Raw. It's so easy to fix. That being said, not terrible matches. Tonight, even the tag team match wasn't bad at all. There was some interesting stuff. It's just hard to really highlight any one person going forward when it's always showcases. So I like that Tony Nese got a victory with Brian Kendrick. I thought that was kind of cool. I do like the story between Brian Kendrick and Tozawa. It is what it is there. Probably the worst storyline that we saw the entire night was the tag team situation. The tag team situation was, I'm just going to cover it all right here because there was a interview that started the entire thing. Now, I did like that it kind of carried on for a few segments, so it wasn't just quick burn gone. But essentially, we knew it was going to happen. It was a number one contenders match. Gallows and Anderson trying to be cute with it. We had a feeling that this was going to turn into a triple threat for WrestleMania, and it's exactly what it did. The only good thing I'll say about it is they used it to kind of help further the Mick Foley storyline of the night, where they're laughing and Mick approaches them. You think this is funny? This isn't the night to mess with me. I like that. I thought that was kind of cool. And once again, it allowed that story to be told throughout the entire evening, which simply doesn't get done nearly enough. So I kind of dug that as well. We move into Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn, and Chris Jericho. Absolutely nothing wrong with any of this. I am enjoying Kevin Owens with the spotlight gag. Yes, the spotlight angle is something that we've seen so many times throughout professional wrestling, but with the right guy, it works, and it certainly works with Kevin Owens. He said a lot of great stuff, and I think that it kind of resonates. Where this is going to go long term, I'm not 100% sure. You can kind of do almost anything you want with Kevin Owens because he's so versatile. I like that he still refers to the Universal title as his title, even though he's going to have nothing to do with it in WrestleMania. It kind of lets you know that he could be one of the first opponents for Brock Lesnar or Goldberg if he's actually going to retain the title at WrestleMania. I'll do it, I swear to God. I will do it. I will blow my goddamn brains out. But it does give you the lingering feeling that Kevin Owens is still important, and I think that's a really, really smart way to go. Everything that happened with Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn, and Y2J, baby. I got my scarf of Jericho on, by the way. Pretty snazzy, if I do say so myself. It's actually a scarf of Star Wars. Use the Force, man. Anyway, nothing wrong with the match at all. There were some really, really stiff spots in it. Of course, with these four guys, that's not a big surprise. One thing I did notice from a technical aspect, I do kind of want to point out, is Samoa Joe kind of being a little more careful with his Kakuna clutch. Kakuna clutch. No, that's a Pokemon. Kakuna, I choose you. Go, clutch him. I find it's a good sign going forward that people can take the move without getting hurt. It's a lot of weight to drop on somebody, so it seems like he set it up just a couple of seconds, almost whispered in Sammy's ear, it looked like, but still, not a bad thing at all. We knew that it was going to go to a DQ situation, but I like the aggressiveness in which the DQ came. That was really smart, and it sets up the possibility of having this faction, become bigger down the line, and I like that. It continues to go on throughout the night. We're seeing more of the storyline between Steph and Mick. I did enjoy that. We got a basic throwaway segment with Big Show, New Day, and Titus O'Neil. It was really just to set up a quick squash match later in the night, which seems to be the only thing that Titus O'Neil is good for. He can be funny. The New Day talk show was humorous, but nothing major. It does seem now that the Big Show versus Shaq Daddy is off the table. They have gone a complete new direction now, with the Big Show being entered in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So it looks like that situation is dead. One of the small things I really enjoyed during Raw was the Jinder Mahal segment. It's so ridiculous. And this whole thing with Jinder Mahal is so ridiculous. Everybody is assuming this guy is on roids. Why? Because it looks like he's on roids. Now, I'm starting to think that maybe he's not. Or maybe the WWE doesn't care, but that's just conjecture. The fact is, he looks ridiculous. He looks like something's wrong. And the WWE has probably had to have tested him by now. Had to have. They've gotten enough remarks about this where they had to have tested his ass. You would think. So maybe they did. And he came up clean. Now they're playing with it because they are going a full roid rage situation with Jinder Mahal. And I think it's hilarious. I do. I really, really do. We talked about the number one contenders match. No reason to go back to that. We knew it was going to happen there. Jinder does get his match with Roman Reigns, basically gets squashed. But then the most shocking thing of the night happened, and I I want to talk about it because I think it's important. Roman Reigns calls out The Undertaker as the Gong kind of distracted him throughout the match. Shawn Michaels in a completely shocking appearance. Nobody expected to see Shawn Michaels, especially because we've just seen him. It wasn't that long ago. So to see him again going into WrestleMania, yeah, we expect to see him because it's on the road to WrestleMania. But in this spot, I thought it was kind of cool. He comes out there and he talks about, you know, he's in your head already. I'm on your side here, Roman, but he's in your head. He's going to eat you alive, to which Roman seemed to take a little bit of offense to, and he kind of goes back at Shawn Michaels. Now, this could be just more of the same out of Roman Reigns being, you know, kind of braggadocious, tweener, but I see something a little bit deeper here. A lot of people are talking about the potential heel turn of Roman Reigns, something they never did with John Cena. Once John Cena got on that spot, they simply never knocked him off of it and didn't make a change. This could be an opportunity to make that change early with Roman and just see what happens. Look, you can always go back to this. What's happening right now is always an option. But they've kind of put themselves in a position where there's an obvious way to do this and do it well, and adding Shawn Michaels into it was a nice nuance, and it made me care. It made me care about Roman Reigns and The Undertaker a little bit more than I did. Is the match still going to be shit? More than likely. Am I going to be like getting a Roman Reigns shirt on and believing that and all that? No, but if he makes major changes and just starts being the badass that everybody for years have been saying, just let him be, things could get interesting with him. He could be an interesting character moving forward. Do I believe that? Not until I see it. However, anything that you might think might be happening with Roman kind of gets moved to the side when once again Braun Strowman interjects himself in a situation and absolutely shit whips Roman Reigns. I mean, god damn, man. That was a shit whip. I mean, like, shit whip of all shit whips. And I've watched it back like 77 times. Hilarious. The way Roman just bounces down and just bangs. I hope he's not hurt. Don't get me wrong. But that was amazingly cool. When they showed it in the third time in the slow motion, it looked like Roman Reigns got hit by a truck. Now, I don't know where Braun Strowman is going to fall in this match, if he's going to become involved. It looks like there's a possibility. I really hated last week where he just completely tucked tail and acted like a biggity bitch in front of The Undertaker. But this is a way to kind of say, okay, either it was part of the storyline and there's something else going on, or a little bit of, we recognize what we did. Here is us trying to make amends for that. Either way, I think it worked. There was a thank you Strowman chant, which I don't kind of get. I mean, I kind of don't get. Roman didn't do anything wrong in the segment before. I think that people are just so, it's the same thing with Cena. Cena does amazing things at matches and people will chant, "You still suck." You know, it could be a good thing, but at the same time, maybe it's not. I just don't know at this point. Only time's going to tell. People are still buying the merch. He's still doing his thing, so only time's going to tell. One of the cool things that I liked was at the end of that, Braun Strowman looking at Shawn Michaels, who was in the ring, looked like he peed himself a little bit. He said, if I wanted to, I can come down and do the same to you. I was like, no, don't hurt my Shawn. Don't hurt my Shawn. After that, we did get a little bit more out of the CWC 205 Live, whatever, the cruiserweights. Austin Aries and a nice little highlight match. If you don't appreciate all the little things that Austin Aries does in the ring, I don't know what to say. Look, this guy is so good at what he does. I love Austin Aries. I really do. And I'm very excited to see him doing what he's doing now. That's going to be a fun match. Him and Neville is going to be a fun match. For those of you who don't know, spoilers, he did win the 5-man elimination #1 contenders match on 205 Live. So he will be taking on Neville. And I'm very excited about that. As predicted, we did get our quick squash match between Big Show and Titus. Nothing there, but didn't really take away much. Bayley and Nia. Bayley and Nia had a nice little interesting nuance before. It does seem very clear now that Sasha Banks is working Bayley, and they're working towards a full-on heel turn with Sasha, which she desperately needs, by the way. Desperately. She's just better as a heel than she is a face. The match between Bayley and Nia, absolutely nothing wrong with it. It served the purpose, and that was Nia just going batshit crazy and getting herself disqualified, but making a statement. Does it mean she's going to be inserted into the match? I would guess so. It seems like that was always going to be the plan. And now with her doing that, it seems even more likely now. We shall see. All of this led to the big thing that happened. All of this led to it, and that was the end of the night. Mick Foley, Stephanie McMahon in the center of the ring, with Mick coming to his decision of who he's going to fire, being Stephanie. He says, "You've got to go. Plain and simple. You've got to go. You're the problem. Not me, not anybody else. You're the problem." I love this. I love this on so many levels. I thought it was so well done, because not only did it set up another classic moment between Triple H and Mick Foley, which, by the way, I will see and watch every single day of the week. Watching Triple H beat up Mick Foley might be one of my favorite things in the world to do. I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of seeing Triple H beat the holy hell out of Mick Foley. I just love it. And I love Mick Foley, don't get me wrong. It's just those two together is hysterical. It's so good. I just love it. And we got another really good moment out of that tonight. Mick Foley, so limited because his hip. I like that they brought in so many personal things, including the reference to the hip, including bringing in Noel and Dewey. I thought that was kind of cool. It's kind of a nice little thing to do. I said this in a private chat yesterday. If Noel and Dewey were not in long-term plans, as far as at least with the company, they wouldn't have brought him up. I thought that was a really smart way to go, because obviously they're not really going to be affected by any of this, but it's cool that we can think that Triple H and Stephanie are so callous, so devoid of sentiment that they potentially could be. It just worked into that storyline and why Triple H is so damn good at what he does. It got a little bit physical with Mick teasing to leave the ring. He did whip out his Mr. Sacco a little prematurely, and the crowd saw it, popped to it, while everybody else was talking on the other side of the ring. Triple H tries to go over to Mick, ends up getting a mandible claw. Again, seeing those two get physical is just one of my favorite things to see. And then Stephanie just nuts him. Just absolutely nuts him. And right when you think that we're going to see one of those quintessential and classic beatdowns of Mick Foley, out comes Seth Rollins. And they do one of my favorite things. The injury tease to the "I'm okay." I love this spot. Always have, always will. Seth just hobbling down, holding out the crutch, and dropping it. Love it. It gets me rock hard each and every time. I can't help it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. They get physical. Great spots here. I think it was a proving point for Seth. And Seth looked really, really good. He looked really good. Didn't look like he had any problems with his knee. And then to even further the point that he's okay, they went after the knee hard. I mean, look, Triple H didn't go after that knee with kid glove. He smacked the shit out of it with that crutch. That was cool. That was cool. The reverse figure 4 on it was beautiful. It looked vicious. That thing looked absolutely vicious. My wife was watching it with me. She even winced at it, especially that second shot with the crutch, man. It was just cool, man. It was so much fun to watch. It was something that we just don't see enough on Monday Night Raw, man. I really did enjoy the hell out of it. It was just the whole show. I felt it worked. It was just storyline telling that we don't see very much anymore in WWE. And it worked. It furthered everything. And they also opened the door to another potential big money match at WrestleMania that we weren't sure. Now, if you watched my WrestleMania projection show, you saw that I had wild cards who I wasn't sure what they were going to be doing. They were Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, and Finn Balor. I think that we've got a match being lined up for two of those guys because of this situation. Friggin' Mick was not fired last night. So something is going to continue. It's going to be an authority storyline. Maybe they both choose a champion. Samoa Joe seems to be the obvious choice for Stephanie McMahon, and the fact that Mick Foley has had a little bit of run-in with Samoa Joe over the last couple of weeks even makes more sense. Mick needs to find a champion. He needs to find somebody to fight for him. What about a returning Finn Balor? Makes all the sense in the world, and they could even take it a step farther by returning us to the Finn Balor roots of making him a heel and joining the building stable of Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Triple H. Bring in Finn Balor, maybe even the club. Maybe this is the beginnings of a new club, something like that. It could be really, really special. So we know that Mick's on his way out. It would make sense for that to all culminate at WrestleMania with a match for storyline, for who's leaving. I really like that. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's give a big shout out before we go to the SmackDown side of things. Let's give a big shout out to the chat, because I know that's early and I really appreciate you guys being here live. If you are indeed watching it live, thank you so much. I see Chris Payne, Formal Ghost, Ronan says, mate, you are sick, lad. I just watched the latest Catch 33 podcast and came to your channel. Keep doing these. Hey, man, you're a rock star. Thanks for checking me out, what we do here. If you don't know, I do more than just wrestling. I do pop culture. I do video games. I stream Pokemon a lot because, shocker, I'm a big fat nerd. We do a lot of stuff here. We do a nightly live viewer questions and YouTube topics type show. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for checking me out, man. I hope you enjoy it. And thanks for the kind words about Catch 33. New episode out now. All kinds of great stuff. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And also, the best, the greatest, the most legit wrestling journalist in the game is in the chat right now. Andre Corbeil. Click his name, sub to his channel if you've yet to do so, because if you haven't, you're missing out. Andre brings something that just simply nobody else in the wrestling game, including myself, doesn't bring into. A level of passion and experience that I don't think is rivaled this side of Bill Apter. The guy knows what he's doing, and he's absolutely amazing. So make sure you're checking out Andre Corbeil, who is also my co-host on every Sunday's Ask Andre. It's our wrestling spectacular where we answer all your questions. So make sure you check that out too. Also, just check out his channel, because I do his show. I'm on the Andre Corbeil Show every single week. I'm one of the co-hosts, and it's amazing. By the way, we will take calls and questions as soon as we get through the SmackDown, which will not be as long-winded as the Raw. I promise you that, because there simply wasn't as much. I only really want to talk about one thing when it comes to SmackDown. We're going to take calls and questions on Skype and maybe even Discord. So good stuff. If you haven't seen this yet over here, go check out www.wrestlecrate.co.uk. All right. You can't get this month's box, but you can sign up for next month's box already. And you can use promo code DeadOnDave to save 10% off of your first box. 10%. Boom. Just by typing in DeadOnDave. Boom. And you get all kinds of great wrestling goodies like this. Look at that. It's amazing. That's amazing. I got pop vinyls and pins and DVDs, man. Some of the best wrestling DVDs I've ever gotten, I've gotten from WrestleCrate.co.uk. My God, look at this stuff. We got 5th anniversary of PCW. We got Ring of Honor Super Show. This is a 3-disc spectacular American Rana. I mean, there's just so much great stuff. So make sure you guys are checking all that out, man. Help me out, help WrestleCrate out, and help yourself out. WrestleCrate. Boom. All right. The plug out of the way. Let's talk about SmackDown. SmackDown was not a bad show in its own right. It wasn't as good as Raw. I'm going to tell you that right now. Raw, I think, killed it this week. One of the best Raws that I've seen probably in 3 years. It's up there with every so often Raw hits it out of the park. And we talk about, or they have epic moments and you have to talk about it. I feel that this week's Raw is in that category. I think it's in that category. And it was just a solid show. Unbelievably solid. Now, could it be it was good because of all the spoonfuls of shit we've been getting from them? Yeah, it's possible. but I think it's a little bit more than that. And I think it's, they're just cranking it up for WrestleMania a little bit. So Smackdown didn't give a bad showing, especially opening up. Anytime you want to open up with angry AJ, I'm okay with that. Angry AJ is awesome. It does kind of seem like they're forcing the issue a little bit, because ultimately, what does AJ really have to be mad about? I like that he keeps bringing up the fact that Bray Wyatt got his house burned down, yet Randy Orton faces no ramifications. I think that's hysterical, because it's blurring that line of what we know is ridiculous in wrestling, and fake, obviously, but still, it's just, I love when they do stuff like that. And AJ sells it well, because he comes off as a country bumpkin. So he's just like, he burns a man's house down. I love it. I think it's hysterical, because he's so over the top, talking about how he still obviously won the battle royal where he clearly didn't. But where he was right is he won a match that was sanctioned to be for the #1 contendership at WrestleMania. So they did make the situation so ridiculous to where he has to react ridiculously, and he can't punch Daniel Bryan. So taking out his aggression on Shane McMahon certainly makes sense. But when AJ was talking about, having a conversation with Shane McMahon about his career, if he even has one, I don't think anybody saw where this was going. I don't think people expected him to full out attack Shane the way that he did. Yeah, I am skipping some of the other things that happened throughout the night. The Miz TV segment I felt was kind of meh-ish, but still at the same time building that storyline very well. The matches between the women's matches, Becky Lynch, Natalya, and Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, all served their purposes. Nothing horrible there. Carmella got involved at one point. They're highlighting. I get that. Nothing wrong with that. But this show really does revolve around the beatdown. That's it. This show revolves around the beatdown, the unexpected jumping and mugging of Shane McMahon by AJ Styles. It was uncomfortable when he was slamming Shane, because we all know, yes, Shane's an athlete, but nobody really considers Shane a wrestler. Could he have been a wrestler? Sure, but nobody really considers him that, especially as he's approaching 50. When you see him get slammed in these really hard objects like the ice cooler and all these things, it just looks vicious. Do I wish WWE would stop the shaky cam? Sure, but it doesn't bother me enough to rage against it. The throw into the window. Look, we've seen the window shatters happen, and so many times they look awful. This was not on purpose. Well, obviously the shattering was, but the way the camera caught it. The camera just moved at the exact right time to where that shatter looked, phenomenal. It looked phenomenal. It looked so good and so real. That was awesome. I absolutely loved it when it just caught it. It didn't, a lot of times the camera will pan so you know what's coming. This was one of those, boom, he's through the, whoa. I love that. You don't see it enough. So that was a lot of fun. Maybe I'm overhyping it a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it. Thought it was really cool. I like the swagger that AJ had. You want me to make my moment? I'm going to take my moment to beat your ass. I love that. I thought that was really funny. Very good stuff. Fit Finley coming on camera. I will never have a problem with seeing Fit Finley on camera. Thank you, Fit Finley, for shooing AJ on. I love the locker room, both heels and faces, kind of telling AJ, dude, what are you doing? You're about to get fired, dude. And they didn't waste any time. Daniel Bryan gets right in AJ Styles' face. This is probably the match people actually want to see at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. But the firing was cool. It wasn't overstated. It wasn't, you're fired. It was just a very simple, you're damn right, I'm going to fire you. Get the hell out of here. I love that. It seemed real and a lot of fun. We see a few things happen throughout for the rest of the night. Dolph Ziggler, Mojo Rawley, a nice progression of Dolph, but nothing magical there. The Sister Abigail bathing in the ashes by Bray Wyatt. It's hit or miss. Randy's continuing to do the things that he's doing. This match, as exciting as it is potentially, it's overshadowed. It's not only is it overshadowed by 2 or 3 matches from Monday Night Raw, but it's now officially overshadowed on its own project. Its own format, its own brand. Jesus, I couldn't think of the word. Because the biggest match coming out of SmackDown Live is the match that got announced at the end of it. When they show gorilla position, they show Shane walking through gorilla. You heard some terminology going back. I like that. I thought it was very cool. Shane comes out and says, AJ doesn't have a match for WrestleMania. He does now. I thought that was just, don't overstate it. You don't always have to give a long, drawn-out promo. We didn't have to wait till next week to have Shane address this or him address it on Talking Smack. No, get it in right at the end of the show. Come out looking wounded. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. The only problem is there's no question now of what the major storyline is coming out of SmackDown for WrestleMania. And it's okay, because anybody who thought just because Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble meant he was definitely going to be in the main event of WrestleMania, I think you're fooling yourself. Because if you really thought that even without the title, that Brock Lesnar and Goldberg were not closing the show, you simply had your fingers in your ear going, WCW, WCW. You know, that's what you were basically doing. I don't know why you were chanting WCW. I just couldn't think of anything funnier to say. Anyway, it went like it went, and we're going to see Bray and Randy probably at the midway point of the card. Just expect it to happen. Honestly, it wouldn't even shock me if it opened it at this point. It would not shock me. It's just the way things are going. This card is so big and there's so many matches and so many of them are now really starting to matter. Someone's got to open, and they might talk themselves into opening WrestleMania with this title match. And it's okay because we have Shane and AJ. That is the real storyline of WrestleMania, or of at least for SmackDown. Is it a small bit of a little bit of a problem that we kind of already seen the exact same authority versus wrestler angle on Raw just the night before? A little, but because they're so good. Because I think most of us are excited about Triple H and Seth Rollins. And I know a lot of people are excited to see what Shane and AJ might do together. I think that it's going to be okay ultimately, even though the storylines are a little similar in some regards. Obviously, one is far more personal than the other, but this is all getting us to AJ on Raw, and nobody's going to be mad about that. Oh, I forgot. Just like everybody else did, American Alpha and the Usos had a match for some reason. The Usos beat them in a non-title affair. Maybe they are going to find their way on the card, but it will be pre-show, and nobody will care. At this point, why not just take the belts off American Alpha? What's the point? Put them on the Usos. They seem to have a little bit more momentum. Screw it. Who cares? Who cares? Honestly, who cares? So SmackDown, while good and certainly passable, it got crushed. It got crushed by Monday Night Raw. But I enjoyed both shows this week. I thought WWE had a very, very strong week. Very strong week. Formal Ghost, Dave, why don't you do this on Thursdays so you can do NXT? Because this isn't Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. If I want to cover NXT tomorrow, I could do that on its own. Just a little quick review show. That's okay. Doesn't need to be in the same conversation as Raw and SmackDown, because it's not in the same conversation as Raw and SmackDown. So there you go, man. My wife is blowing her nose in the background because she's a heathen. She doesn't care about my show or you. Oh, of course I heard it. You freaking honked your nose, you big schnoz. Oh, yeah, it's it's Tommy C's fault. It's Tommy C. Tommy C gave me his bird flu that I gave to our daughter, who gave to you. That's not my fault. You blame Tommy C. You blame him.
Hey, Tommy, you fuckhead.
Punch him right in the mouth next time you see him. Walk up and give him a big smash in the suck hole.
Why can't I punch him in the dick?
You want to punch him in the dick? It's pretty aggressive, babe.
It's more effective than the face.
It is more effective than the face. She's right about that. She's right about that. All right, let's take your calls, man. Let's get to the better part of the programma mama, where we're going to hear from you guys. I know it's early, but if you want to call in, now's the time. On Skype, David Vancura, DAVIDVANCURA. Of course, that number, 702-751-2902. I'll also open up Discord in case you want to rap with me there as well. But it's your time. My time is up. Your time is now. I really haven't talked much about the Cena Miz stuff. If you're sold on it, you're sold on it. It's really that simple. And part of me is very sold on it. I love what the Miz is doing. The Miz. He is the Miz sometimes. There's no question about that. I love what the Miz is doing. I think he's doing a lot of great stuff. Ultimately, do I care? Kind of, sort of, not really. I'm fairly certain what's going to happen is Cena's going to propose to Nikki Bella, and we'll see if that happens. So, I don't know. Other than that, I really don't know. I don't know anything. But yeah, if we don't have calls, if somebody doesn't jump into my Discord here very, very, very soon, I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day because that's what we do. We make champions here. That's what we do. I don't know what it has to do with anything. But yeah, call in on Skype, David Vancura, DAVIDVANCURA. Or, of course, that number, 702-751-2902. I'll also go look in the chat right now and see if anybody is asking about some things. Chris Cressa, gotta go. Great live stream, Dave. Have a great day. See you, everyone. Thanks, Chris Cressa, for hanging out. He's now excited for WrestleMania. Some Die Nameless says, the Alphas are boring. Don Butler says, those two deserve a street fight. I think we're going to probably see that. Jen Las Vegas, laying the Smackdown. Don Butler says, too early for me. Chris Payne, I'm at work in 20 minutes to go home and go to bed. Fair enough, Chris Payne. I appreciate that. Tambo Computing, 14 viewers, 9 likes. Slip that like button, people. That's right. Hit that. Slap it, punch it. Yeah, get it. Okay. Doesn't look like we're going to get any calls. Let's check the Discord one more time. Completely fine. No, I know that it's early. And hopefully if you're watching this on delay later, you are enjoying it. If you have any questions, anything you want to comment about Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live this week, go ahead and go right into the comment section below and spout off whatever you want to talk about. Also, hit me up on Twitter at DeadOnDaveV. All that information is in the description box. Well, that's going to do it, kids. Thank you very much for joining us right here on Dead on Dave Productions. Hopefully you had a nice time and enjoyed your Raw versus SmackDown review battle. I'll probably be back in a little while playing some Pokemon. And of course, tonight we might do a show, we might not. I got to record with Andre Corbeil, and that is priority for me tonight. Unless Catch 33 does something, then fuck Andre. Got to make that money, son. Got to make that money. Just kidding. We'll see you next time right here on Dead on Dave Productions. Make sure you're checking out everything that's going on in the community and all these wonderful people that I associate with. Andre Corbeil, Tommy C, Real Talk, the Metaphor Messiah, who has 2 wonderful new pieces of work for you to hear this week. Both are what he calls in his 32 bar series, no chorus, no bullshit, just straight fire through, man. Rapping, hip-hop excellence at its finest, rapping straight through. Go check it out. Real Talk Metaphor Messiah right here on YouTube. Jeff the Huffman, Grand Slam 87. I'm sure he'll be streaming in his Call of Duty or Battlefield 1, Battlefield Earth, Battlefront, some whatever it's called, series that he's doing where he's conquering the Russians or the Germans or somebody. I don't know what he's doing, but go check him out because he is incredible at what he does and he's a lot of fun to watch. So there you have it. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep it copious, folks. And remember, as always, I didn't say that right. Remember, as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. See you next time. Peace. Hit the button, Daddy.